really popular company. See the ticker all the time. It's Hoth Therapeutics. Therapeutics is ticker HOTH, and we have here the CEO of Hoth, Robb Knie. Robb, what's going on?
Good to see you. Thank you so much for having us today.
Welcome, sir. You got your slides up there. I'll let you have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate it. This presentation is on our website, also filed with the SEC. You can find it there as well. So there's a safe harbor statement just for review purposes. So I'll go into Hoth, where we are today, some of the drugs that are in the pipeline, some of the catalysts that are upcoming. So obviously we've talked about Bialexa in the past. We finished our first cohort of the drug in Australia of that trial. Went extremely well. We had no adverse effects. The Safety Review Commission has recommended to the ethics board in Australia for us to go to the next cohort, which will be patients that have atopic dermatitis. We expect to update the investment community on that permission and to start that trial in the upcoming week to 10 days. Talk a little bit about HT001, which is a very exciting drug for us. We talked about it late last year and this year as well. We filed our pre-IND with the FDA to start that study. That study is for patients who are going through chemotherapy who develop chemo rash. About 65 to 85% of patients develop some sort of skin toxicity while having these EGFR treatments. This category is brand new. Nobody is on the market or has developed anything for this. Patients are currently treated with corticosteroids and other over-the-counter or prescribed medications. None of them have worked or given patients relief. So we're super excited about this. The therapeutic was developed at George Washington University. Our team then took it forward through more preclinical testing. We finished up recently our toxicity testing for our formulation. Super excited about this. Hope to have some updates on that in the weeks to come about starting the actual trial, the phase 2 in patients. Talk a little about the Alzheimer's drug, and it's interesting, the same drug that was developed for chemo patients, we found out while given to mice, it had very good effects on Alzheimer's for plaque buildup in the brain and as far as cognitive and behavioral function. So in the next week, we look to release our preclinical studies talking about how the drug worked in Alzheimer's model. So we are currently evaluating that data and hope to share that with the investment community in the week to come. Acne and Psoriasis, this is our VNLG-152 drug out of University of Maryland. We have finished most of our preclinical studies, working on our formulation. Look forward to filing a pre-IND in the first quarter with the FDA. We've also had conversations internally here about trying to possibly out-license this drug. We think it's super exciting because it has an anti-inflammatory platform, which we believe, larger pharma companies would find of interest. We're also using the same drug for IBD as well. We did a study with Reprosel, which we announced. We'll have further data on that in the next month or two. Then the asthma allergy drug, that's out of UNC. It's also with the mast cell-derived cancers and anaphylaxis. We're currently in preclinical studies on that. We're talking about possibly filing for orphan drug status for that as well. There's an interesting paper that was reviewed that came out about a month and a half ago from the researcher, Dr. Glenn Lind, which you can find on our website. And VAP-HAP is licensed from the U.S. Army. We're currently working with them for our next steps, along with the University of Cincinnati. We have some data which we'll be looking to share in a publication and with the investment community in the next month to two. The ZPOS cutaneous lupus, we're working with our partner Xylo. Xylo finished their preclinical mouse studies. They should have some more data for us in the next 60 days. The COVID-19 drug that we licensed out of VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, we announced some data as far as how well it worked in a Delta variant. We hope to have some further data on that also in the next 60 days. Vaccilarate is a partnership we have currently being developed at Mass General Hospital under Dr. Mark Poznansky. The company, us as a whole, we invested in that. We're on the advisory committee trying to put that through further animal studies, but is actually Vaccelerate runs that trial and program itself. So that's kind of an update on the pipeline as a whole. Talked a little bit about BioLexa, where we are for moderate atopic derms, and we'll start that second cohort, as I mentioned, in Q1, pending approval from the Australian Ethics Board. BioLexa, big market opportunity here. Atopic derm, there's lots of products out there. Most of them are with corticosteroids. We're a non-corticosteroid play. So it's kind of interesting for, pediatric patients that parents don't want to apply a corticosteroid that has thinning of the skin and also corticosteroid addiction. So we think this is an interesting way for doctors to address atopic dermatitis in patients who are, in that pediatric stage. So as we talked about, we finished the first cohort. We got HREC approval for the first 1B. We had the site recruitment. We dosed our patients. We had no adverse effects, which was a real plus and, a real milestone for Hoth. And the clinical design you could find on this presentation if you'd like to go through it. So we know the proof of concept works. We know either alone, DTPA or gentamicin do not have the same effect as a combination reduced bacteria for LOQ in patients. We know our combination works best. We talked about the planktonic and biofilms, how it really brings that down, how patients who are having flare-ups or whether they're using it simply for control of atopic dermatitis, we know we've gotten really great results on that, and that a combination of this drug has really shown to be effective. H2001 is, once again, we talked about the skin toxicity market. In 2018, this was a $52 million a year market. Now they're talking about a $391 million by 2030. 3 new EGFR drugs were recently approved by the FDA, all shown the same biggest side effect, skin toxicity and this chemo rash that takes place. It's an unmet need. There's no current drugs on the market that simply go after this alone. Talked about recent milestones. We had our pre-IND. Final formulation was selected. Our IND enabling studies are initiated in Q2. We're looking for our clinical trial early 2022, and we're using Worldwide to help us run that trial of patients. Once again, you can kind of go through here and talk about the randomized placebo-controlled study we did, which we shared with investors in the past. You can take a look at the mice in here, and show how well they did as far as these induced skin toxicity in the rats and the mice as well. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see how well they cleared up these chemo rash that took place. This picture really gives a good idea of how well the drug works. So recent milestones, upcoming catalysts for BioLexa and H2001 are on this screen. Kind of talked about it at the beginning, how we'll start that trial in the second cohort of patients for BioLexa. H2001, we'll start that trial in 2022, which we're really excited about in Q1. So H2003 preclinical results showed really good the ability of H2003 to inhibit TLR. This takes place in all acne cases. So inhibiting TLR2, stopping that pathway, suggests this could be a really great therapeutic for acne. And if you look, there's not a lot has come on the acne market in the last 20 years. So a drug here that's a topical that you wouldn't have to get a blood test for patients who have, high acne issues, this could be something that the market would well receive. Our mouse asthma model study we talked about for H2004 is effective in reducing these inflammatory cell around the bronchioles. So we shared that preclinical work as well. The milestones coming up, as I mentioned, humanized mouse models, further preclinical studies. Vaccelerate, we're hoping for the pre-IND submission by the end of this year. We'll have an update on that, as I said, in the month or two ahead. So our early preclinical results of in the programs of the inflammatory bowel disease, we talked about the HT06, which we licensed once again from the U.S. Army. We're doing some studies out of UC on that, University of Cincinnati. We hope to share that data, as I mentioned, in the next 30 to 60 days. The Alzheimer's disease, we recently finished some of the preclinical work out of University of Washington in St. Louis, Missouri, WashU. Shown, we'll share that data. As I said, we're currently analyzing it. We hope to have that data out in the next week to 10 days. HD-KIT, we've talked about in the past out of NC State, how well that drug has done, and we hope to file for orphan status for that. COVID-19 treatment prevention, as I mentioned earlier, at a Virginia Commonwealth University, shown really good results in preclinical with the Delta variant. So we're excited about those results. And you can find this in the presentation online, giving you an update on some of the catalysts going forward. The diagnostic device we talked about that we actually licensed from George Washington University. It's a breath test that was being developed for COVID. So we've taken this and now we've hired a firm to work with us that's come up not only with using it for COVID, but possibly be able to use it for flu and other testing as well. So breath rather than blood work, which would be a real life changer for a lot of people who have needle fear, and also for lab analysis where it would take seconds or minutes as opposed to sending out blood. So we hope to have an update on that probably in Q1. So the investment highlights, two of our drugs currently in clinical stage of development. We've got this diverse and robust pipeline, clean financials. We've got cash on hand of around $15 million. Takes us, for quite a while. Our management team and board of directors and scientific advisors out of Weill Cornell, out of University of Cincinnati, WashU, and others. And if you all like, you can please feel free to go through this presentation once again online and email the investor relations if you have any questions or comments. Hope that was a good overview for everybody and give you an update on where Hoth is today.
It was, Rob. What is the, if you have it off the top of your head, what is you said to email investor relations. Do you know what the email is, just so we can get it?
Investor relations at hoththerapeutics.com.
Super simple, right? If you don't mind, can we get that up on the screen? Good advice to forward people along to, the people that know how to handle it. I have one quick question here from the audience. It was from NCAL, and NCAL didn't specify. I believe they were asking about BioLexa. I know you said you were going to be given an update in the next 10 days or so.
Yes.
Any partners? Any partners that are working with you for?
That's something that we're working on internally, on licensing a few of our therapeutics. We've had this conversation in the past where investors have asked us about this, because not only does it bring in value for the company or whether somebody wants to own it or out-license it, when you deal with big pharma, it does take a little bit of time for them to analyze your data and move forward through the business development process.
I gotcha. I think it's pharma investors' favorite question to ask. So
it's a great question. I totally understand.
Certainly. You probably knew I was going to ask that one.
I think the one takeaway I'll say is obviously, as a company, we're very excited about our pipeline. The company's never been in a better position as far as pipeline and cash. Our stock doesn't reflect it, which is disheartening for us, for our investors. And, I'm one of the biggest shareholders myself. But I will tell you the company's doing extremely well and our pipeline is moving along quickly.
Gotta love the confidence, Rob. Thanks a lot, man.
Robb
Knie, he is CEO of Hoth Therapeutics. It's ticker HOTH. We will see you soon, I'm sure, Rob.
Great. Thank you again. Take care now.